So a long time ago, I was faced with a big decision. And it may not have seemed like a big decision or even a decision to have to make at the time. But while I was in it, it felt like a decision. And this happened back in high school. And I was on the swim team. And I was only on the swim team. I swam a lot in middle school and whatnot, just at the YMCA and whatnot. But I had made a bet with my civics teacher, Neil, at the time, who was the swim coach. And I said, if I get cut from the basketball team, I'll join the swim team. I didn't make the freshman basketball squad. I made first cut, did not make second cut. So I got cut. And here I was like, damn, got to put on some Speedos, jump in a cold pool. Let's go. So joined the swim team, and it's a grueling sport. I mean, it takes a lot. You're staring at a line at the bottom of a pool. You're kicking your own ass like 2-3 hours a day, mornings, evening workouts. Anyways, but 3 years in, my junior year, was at a swim meet, the regional swim meet at the Natatorium at the University of Minnesota. Now, if you've ever been to the Natatorium, you know what I'm talking about. This place is huge. It is like the gladiator arena of swimming. It's intimidating. It's so big, and it's such a great space too. And it was the regional swim meet. You go to that. You do that one to go to state. And what happened was I was swimming the 50, and in my heat, I had essentially down to the 100th of a second tied with another swimmer. And I was like, never seen that before. That's weird. Because I'd never seen 100th of a second match or times match on a time board ever in swimming or in track. Just never happened. And so I thought nothing of it. I'm like, I'll see that guy in the finals, or I'll see them in consolation finals, one of the two. What ended up happening was my coach, Neil, at the time, who, rest his soul, Neil came to me and he said in the endearing way that he knows how to do and deliver, was he would always drive. If it was like, if he was telling you about the weather, it would seem serious as I don't know, a tornado. He was just, there was always like a genuine, deep authenticity with him. Like when he was speaking to you, he was just taking care of the communication. And he approached me and said, so there's gonna be a thing after the meet here. And I'm like, what you talking about? He's like, so you tied with somebody? And I'm like, yeah, so what? He said, you're tied at 8 and 9, okay? Somebody's gonna have to go to finals and somebody's going to consolation rounds. And in my mind, I was like, I just didn't have any way to process it in my head. What happened to me then was my nerves and just my stomach just constricted. Everything locked up. Because what he said next is you're gonna have to be in a swim off. And my mind went into escapism. So when our limbic systems can't handle something, we either go into laughter, or we go into play mode to escape it, or we just blank out to numb it, just get the F out of here. So the idea is that I went into humor and I just started laughing, because I was like, there's no way that this is gonna happen. No, I'm not gonna do this. It's not like I'm not gonna do this, it's like, this isn't going to happen. There's no way. It's impossible. They're not gonna do that. I go into the locker room to be away from everything and kind of bear with this truth in my head. And what happens is somebody comes up to me and says, hey, good luck. They're gonna hold it after the meet, 10 or 15 minutes after the meet. I said, oh, praise. Now everybody will be gone. All the audience members will be gone, and we can get this thing over with alone, with nobody watching. The crowd was already riotous, and so what happened 10 to 15 minutes afterwards was they were told that a swim-off was going to occur. Not only did everybody stick around, but it was almost like they had been hit with I don't know, 3 cans of Monster and a shot of tequila. Like, people started like screaming. It was like they were at like an MMA fight. And so they bring us to the blocks, and it's me and this white kid from St. Paul Central. I'll never forget it. And we were both in this position that was just awful, but the decision was here. When I was sitting in the locker room, I decided, or I was thinking, what if I just get my clothes on and walk out of this building right now and never have to do this race, never have to deal with this awful, like, nasty confrontation of competition with my mother watching, best friends, people that I love and hold dear, near and dear to me, watch this moment go down. Maybe I never have to deal with this and I'll just walk away and not have to deal with it at all. And then there was the decision to say, no, I'm actually gonna do this. So what ended up happening, obviously, was I forced myself to leave the locker room and just make it to the blocks. That was it. I was like, let's not worry about swimming, just make it to the blocks. I made it to the blocks. Once I was there was no way I was leaving. It was kind of like point of no return. So I'm at the blocks and I say, okay, well, now I'm gonna swim. So I hold up in the blocks, we get ready for the start. And now at that point, there's no escape. There's really no escape. So the idea of the fear in that moment was me operating in fear, was me laughing about the incident, me dismissing the incident. No, this isn't happening. Or me imagining that the incident wouldn't occur the way that I feared that it would. And what ended up happening was engaging with the moment and operating in fearlessness ultimately led to one of the most poignant times in my life. And as a black kid who was on a swim team, other black folks are watching you like, win. Because it's not every day you see a black swimmer. And when we hit the blocks, we jumped off, engaging with fearlessness. What that ultimately, how that affected the race was, my mind was gone. I just went to form, and that was it. My body locked into whatever form we were working on in practice for over the past 3-4 years, and that was it. And it popped out of the water, just made sure I didn't dolphin kick too much, hit the flip turn, made sure I didn't come too close to the wall or too far from the wall. You're too far from the wall when you flip turn, it's a death sentence. Like, your toes touch off and you just don't, now you gotta pull yourself back into the whole mix of things, and it's awful. Had a good flip turn, but during the flip turn, I saw the homie was behind me. And so at that point it was just, we'll keep swimming. And at the end of the race, I had beat him and made it to finals, and then proceeded to get my ass kicked in finals. But the point of it was, what I noticed about myself in that moment of operating in fear versus operating in fearlessness was that it for me, and it may be different for you, and it might be the same for everybody, I'm not sure, because my imagination can go stratospheric. I'm sure yours can go stratospheric as well. I know Max's imagination can go stratospheric. He's on the other side of the camera. How I imagined it, it was never that bad in reality. And it always turned out in a way that wasn't as horrible or bad or insane or painful as I thought it was going to be. And so when the race happened, it was this amazing, it was the reverse of terrible. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it. And I had a story to tell my grandmother, and I had a moment with my mother, and my sister was in the stands, I think, as well. I'm not sure, but the whole point was that it was a glorious moment, and what it showed me was operating in fear versus operating in fearlessness are two very, very, very different things. And when you're in that moment, it's a tough choice. It's a tough decision to make, to opt out of fear, but it is an amazingly rewarding, unforgettable experience to always opt into fearlessness.